Okay, welcome to our little game video. It's just going to be in a few parts. It's going to take you through some of the basics of the game engine. Not all of them because it's phenomenally complicated, but just showing you a few of the standard ways that you should work with it. I'll do some other videos showing you more in-depth specialist things, but this is like an overview of using it. In this first one, what we're going to do is we're going to just do some setup, sort out title container, change some bits of assets, and sort out the game container. So we're not going to do major stuff in this, but it'll show you a few of the techniques. Okay, now because you might have been playing with the template, you might need to delete a few bits, but if you just check that you've got the same sort of things that I've got in mine, and that any of the things are like disabled or taken away. All right. If you've got an actor, you can either edit the actor when we get onto part 2, or you can delete it and start again, because I'll be starting from scratch. Okay, so we're going to start off with some setup. We're going to go first of all to assets. Now, assets controls various things, and it's where we put general storage items. Okay, and there's a few bits we need to change in here. We've got currently the update rate set to 300. We're going to set that to 100. Now that forces the game engine's logic to run at 100 times a second. We don't really want it going 300 times a second unless you're doing some simulation, okay, because it will kill it performance-wise if it's trying to update too often. The other thing we're going to change is the resolution, screen size. So if we just scroll down, so these are just at the top of GM. I put them at the top so you're easy to find. We're going to set the resolution to 720p, so that's 720 in the Y direction and 1280 in the horizontal direction. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see this commented out section that says storage for sprite types. Sprite types are to do with collision detection and for various other things when we're trying to like search for sprites and things. They can help identify classes of sprites quite quick because it's just a little number. So we're going to uncomment that one so we've got a player one, and we're going to create another one. We're not going to do a bullet in this video, but we're going to get it ready. We're going to have a bullet type because we're obviously going to shoot each other, and they just need to be unique numbers. Okay. Now I prefix those with a little T, and that's so it's easy for the IntelliSense, the little pop-up window, to help me remember. When you've got short-term memory problems like me, anything that helps to remember things, especially once your programs get large, is a godsend, really. Okay, so that's everything we need to do in assets. So we're going to go to basic container next, and we don't want the cursor on, the mouse cursor, so we're just going to find the constructor. And remember, the constructor for a class is the one that's got the same name as the class and just says public in front of it. There's no like void or anything like that. So we don't want the cursor, so we're not going to delete it. We're just going to comment it out. Okay. Okay, let's go to the title container. At the minute, in the template, it does this thing where it goes to the score display. We don't want that. So in the constructor for the title screen, we're just going to comment out that event. Okay. So it's going to say beep. We're not going to say boop. We're just going to use the comment tool. So if I show you that again, it's just up here. Okay, it shows you what the shortcut key is. It's one of those corded ones, Control E, and then you press C. Okay, the other thing that we're going to do is, at the moment, it just shows a grey screen, which isn't very helpful to the user. So in the logic code, which runs continually every time the game engine updates, what we're going to do is we're going to call a method right at the bottom. We're going to call it display. Now this won't exist. If it does that, sometimes it tries to guess for you, and it really gets annoying. So it's come up with display mode. I don't want that, so I'm going to press escape to get rid of the IntelliSense. Okay. Now it's gone red squiggle because it don't exist, so we're going to tell it to create it. So we can say generate method stub. Now, one of the things that you might do at the start of programming with C# is you might start putting things outside of braces. So don't delete yours. I'm just going to show you this. If I'd have gone and put display here, it would have got really confused. Its method must have a return time. It doesn't actually know what I'm doing. All method calls must be called within another method. So if I want to run a method, I need to be inside. Now, it does try and help. You can see that it's grey here when I've gone and put my cursor outside of this closing brace, and it's highlighted the opening brace, the one that marks the block. So you can see that this is the block for logic. All right, so if I want to run something from within logic, I must call my method in logic. So I'm going to just put my display back in now. It's and get it to regenerate it. Always try and get Visual Studio to do all the hard work. Right, so I've deleted that exception line because I don't want that. So what I'm going to display on screen is just what the game's called. Now I couldn't do this lots of different fancy ways, but I'm going to use the text system, the dynamic text system for now. So that's in gm.textManager, and the method to call is called draw. I need to pick a font, so I'm going to say font bank dot and then Gradius. Use the picker. You can't see me moving my arms, but I'm gesticulating with my arms and my hands all the time when I'm making this video. It's a bit mental, really. But I'm using the picker because everything's case sensitive, remember. Now, when we do font things and we're drawing text, you've got a lot of arguments sometimes, and I'll show you in a few minutes another way of organizing calling methods with arguments. But for now, I'm just going to follow what the helper up here is showing me, and it's showing me the second parameter after the comma is going to be some text. This is the text I want to display. So I'm going to call my game shoot 'em, and I want it to be in the center of the screen. So I'm going to refer to the screen size. So I'm going to say gm.screensize, and I'm going to say center.x. That will give me the horizontal center of the screen. Just going to zoom out a little bit. I want to put this not at the top, so I'm going to come down from the top. Remember, the top is 0, and then the Y value increases as we come down. So I'm going to put it about 200 pixels from the top, and I want to center it, so I'm going to add a text attribute called centered. Now you'll see up here it says 3 of 3, so there are 3 different draw methods, and they've all got different parameters. So I can do one that's just a text store, I can do one with default alignment, or I can do one where I use a different alignment, and I'm using centered in this case. Right, so I'm also going to give them some instructions. So I'm going to tell them that they have to press the 1 key to get off of this screen, because that would be useful. So I'm going to say press 1 to start. I've copied and pasted that for time, so I must make sure that I edit it properly. You've got to be careful when you copy paste, because you can copy code that works, and then if you forget to edit something, it runs, but it doesn't run correctly. You end up with logic errors, which are a pig to find sometimes, because when you look at the code, there's nothing wrong looking with the code. It might just be a value or a variable's different. So very careful when you copy paste. Okay, so that's sorted out the display. So you can see in our logic code, when we press the 1 key, we go to the game container. So let's go to the game container and set up a few things in that. Right, so here we are, the constructor. This is what is run when we say new game container. To start with, it's colored red because that's what the template was doing. So let's change that to black. Now I could try and be clever and just overwrite the red bit with black, but I'll more than likely get an error. So what you must do if you're changing something, delete including the dot, and then put the dot back in, and you'll get the picker back. So if we now type BLA, we get blanched almond, whatever color that is, and black. In fact, it does try and help you by telling you what the RGB values. So black is no red, no green, no black. And then the A is full alpha, so this is like opaque black, so you can't see through it. So we set the screen color to black. Right, when we're playing the game, we want to be able to display scores and keep track of scores. So we're going to create two private fields, integer types, for score for player 1 and score for player 2. When the game starts up, we want to make sure that they're initialized. So we're going to say score P1 equals 0 and score P2 equals 0. Okay, it's always important to initialize values. All right, the other thing we're going to do is we want to display those scores. So if we do a similar thing to what we do with the title container, if we go into our logic for the game container and we just say, right, okay, call a method called display. It's done that display mode thing again, so I'm just going to delete that junk. Remember, if it tries to do the picker and you know someone doing this, just press escape and it'll disappear. Right, so we're going to right click over that and say generate method stub. Delete the exception that's generated because we're going to put our code straight in. Right, so again, we're going to use the text manager to draw what the scores are. So we're going to say gm.textmanager.draw. Notice I'm using the picker. I'm going to use the same font because it's important to be consistent with fonts. Right, I'm going to put these parameters on separate lines. So I'm going to say, just pressing enter after the comma, something that you can do quite nice with languages like C# because they use those semicolons at the end. Right, so I'm going to put the text that I want to display on screen. So I'm going to say player 1 and then I'm going to put a tilde. Tilde, if you don't know where that is, it's above the hash symbol on a standard keyboard. So and what it does in the game engine, in the text manager, it tells it to draw a new line. Okay, so we're then going to say that text followed by, and remember plus with text means concatenation. Well, what we want to display is the score for player 1. Okay, so on the next line, we're going to put the X argument. So that's the horizontal position on screen. So I'm just putting it on the next line down just for like readability's sake. So I want this to be near the center of the screen. I want it to be slightly left of the center of the screen. So I'm going to say gm.screensize.center, just like we did before. But I'm going to say -100. So that'll be 100 pixels left of the center. The Y value, I'm going to put this near the top of the screen. So I'm going to put 20. And then the text attribute, I want it to be right aligned. So I'm going to say text at dot, and I'm going to pick top right. So that the 20 refers to the top right hand corner of the text. Okay, so I've split that over 3 lines to make so I don't have to horizontally scroll because that's horrible. Right, I'm going to copy and paste that, making sure I'm still in the display, so I'm within the opening and closing brace. And then I'm going to edit carefully the text. So this is for player 2, and this is score P2. Again, I might think I'm being clever by doing that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete, make sure I've got a space, and then I say score P2. Now I want this to be the right hand side of the center by about 100 pixels. So I'm going to say plus 100. So that's the center of the screen plus 100. And the alignment for this, I want it to be top left. So again, I'm going to delete, including the dot on text stat, and I'm going to say dot, and then I'll get the picker back. Okay. Right, we're nearly done, and then we can run it, and we'll have finished part 1. If we just go slowly up to logic, you'll see that when we press the escape key, we go back to the title screen. But we're also going to want to go back to the title screen when the game's been won. Okay, so if we were to put the code in for that, and we will do later, we'd end up having to duplicate these 2 lines. That's not a good thing, duplication. What we want to do is we want to turn that into a method instead, so that we can write the code once and then use it wherever we need to use it. So we could create the method ourselves, but Visual Studio can do something quite clever. If we highlight these 2 lines and we right click on that and say refactor, it can actually create the method for us. So we just go extract method, and then it asks us for a name, and we just give a name. So we're going to call it back to title. Okay, and I'm just going to click OK. Now what it's done is it's gone and put a call in there to a method called back to title, and it's actually created it here. All right, which that's quite powerful. That used to be the sort of thing that you had to do yourself all the time. Okay, so that's quite nice. Right, so we should be in a position to run this now. So let's just run this. Remember that's F5, or you can go up to the start. And there you go. We get the brilliant title screen there. You could call it minimalistic. Good way to go with a game if you're not very good at doing graphics. And it's telling me what to do. So if I press 1, hey, black screen, and I've got my player 1 score and my player 2 score, which are both 0. Okay, so that's the end of part 1. In part 2, we're going to mess about with the actor, create an actor ready for controlling. All right.